I think part of what you've done now so far is you've started to look at the numbers. You're looking at the numbers. You're carrying the numbers around in your head more, that's the only way to make a success in this business. You must carry your numbers around with you. Now, once you've done that, you need to carry a certain set of numbers because all these numbers will create patterns and ratios that you can work from. And I think one of those should be find out how many black belts have you currently got, and that will be the basis of the number of black belts. Now, I know for Leeds South, you won't have many black belts because you've only been going for a couple of years. For Offaly, you might have more. You might have got some that moved to you. But again, think about, okay, well, how many black belts would I like? If I want an academy, and the ideal academy size before you open a second academy is about 150. And once you've got 150 students, if you think, well, of 150 students, is 15 black belts a good amount? Well, if you've been going 2 years, it's probably a really good amount. If you've been going 10 years, it might be a different kind of ratio. But I think, you see, the idea is, and again, when you get to 150 active students with the right pricing in place, then you must have a team to run 150 students. But you don't build the team once you get 150 students, because that's too late. You build the team before you get 150, and then by the time you've got 150, you've got enough people to service the needs of those students. Because otherwise you're going to fail to deliver on your promises because you're just so busy and rushed all the time. And whilst people will stick with you for quite a while through that, the issue is that they're eventually going to get a bit miffed. So what we want to do is part of your process now is to what we call lock the back door. So that you start to look at things and like, am I losing people? If they are quitting, why are they quitting? Is it something in the product delivery? Is it something in the quality of the teaching? Now, I know we would all say we teach to the best of our ability and we teach well, but sometimes we don't always teach well. And this is why, I mean, I've worked with instructors for decades, and some are great at delivering the content, but there's certain things that have to be done on top of that delivery in measurement, for instance, graduation. And if you find things in your academy where people don't want to graduate, then you need to identify that, because why would they not want to graduate? And something possibly in the pre-frame process has fallen down. You need to make sure that people are paying fair amounts, that you've got enough. Because if you've got 150 students averaging, say, well, if it was £100 a month, you're going to do 15 grand a month. But it will vary a lot. But 150 students should quite easily get you around about 15 grand, as long as you've got the infrastructure, you've got the people to manage that team of students. So what I'm trying to say today is, start focusing on your team. Get a team together. Pull people in. Like, for instance, Alex, you've got Jess. Now, last time I saw Jess, she was red hot. She was really doing some good stuff, good martial arts. She's a good martial artist. She's got a nice manner with her. She looks the part. She's slim and fit and strong and all this kind of stuff. And she seems like she's got a pretty tough attitude. Now, it doesn't matter that she's your daughter. What matters is that she's inspired to do what you do. And that's part of the management process, the leadership process, is to constantly inspire. Now, how do you inspire people? If you think about it, what do the people that inspire you do? I mean, have you got any? I mean, you might have no names, no patrol, but are there people that inspire you, and what do they do? What is it that inspires you about a person? Is it their physical strength? Is it their physical size? You can't do much about that, but you can always slim down. You can shrink your size down, but you can't make yourself any taller. And if you look at some of our most effective communicators, we have Master Maya and Mrs. Drury and Mrs. K. I mean, these are all, particularly Mrs. K, I think she's 4'10", you know, but she's dynamic. She's dynamic, and she's forceful but nice and generous, and you think, okay, so it's not how you look and your age. It's something about you inspires people. to do more, you know, and this is part of your team building. You see, what you can do is, if you think of it in two types, one side of the coin is that you've got to inspire people to join you, and then you've got to be consistent in how you treat them so that you don't have favourites, and that's quite difficult to do, not to have favourites. You have to actively work on it, and we found this years ago with the sticker charts. We always had sticker charts from going back 10, 15 years or so, because there was one particular kid that I remember we didn't have tots in those days, but he was only a young lad, but I liked him. He always trained hard, he always did his best, a real good attitude, and one night I gave him a sticker for something, and I said, oh, you must be getting loads of stickers. It turned out he'd not had a sticker from me for about 4 months, because I thought he was getting stickers, and he wasn't. So after that we put together a sticker chart, and something that Master Meyer himself always used, and we just keep it at the front of the room, covered up with a piece of paper, but we'd have a list of all the students in the TOTS programme, all the students in the Kids and Family programme, and each lesson your name would come up. If you're in that class, your name would come up to get a sticker, and we'd try and focus on you to try and develop you and have reasons to praise you, so that we knew that everybody got, within a month process, we could hit most of the classes by giving them stickers and recognition. And that's a consistent way of doing it. And you just look for reasons for it. So that, if you look at that team building, at the moment that might not seem too important. I mean, it will for you, Stephanie, I think, because you know why you need a team, because you've had changes to your business, and you're a chief instructor with no full-time program director. But what you've done is you've taken your resources, you've leveraged your resources, which thankfully you've done 2 years ago. You found people to work with, found people you liked, and inspired them enough that they wanted to join you. So you've now got that gap is filled. You could be in a hell of a mess if you'd not done that. So if you think about that, and your team is not always going to make it, and they'll make it at different levels. I equate it to being like on a bus. As I see it, I'm driving the bus, and when I'm driving the bus, people get on and people get off, and some stay longer than others. Now they're all on the journey, they all get what they need out of the journey, hopefully, which is the journey towards black belt and beyond. But they can't all stay, it's their stop. And some people go as far as they can. I mean, there are reasons why some academies and some students stop. And some of it is they've gone to the level of their ability. They've gone to the furthest extent of their ability. Now, I believe that everybody can do better if they apply themselves. But some people, and I think we've got to include ourselves in this, we are conditioned to have a certain level of success. And if we get more success than we've ever had before, our body and our mind starts to get very uncomfortable about that and think, oh wow, I'm in unknown territory here. And what does your body want to do? It wants to go back to safety. So it's difficult to move forward sometimes. So people will step on the bus with us, they'll train with us, but they won't stay with us. And even, you know, if you had an instructor that you trained and trained and trained to replace you, then what you might find is they want to open their own academy and not replace you. So that means you need 2 people or 3 people as potential replacements, because the one that you want. Now, it's not that that person opening their own academy is going to be a loss to you. You've both benefited from the relationship and might still continue to do so if they open another academy. But what you've got is you need a bench strength. So you always need to look at your CITs and think, how many have I got? How many do I need? And I would go for about 10% of your student body as CIT members, just as a ratio. Now there are times when you can sponsor people in, and there are times when you can charge people to come in. I think if you do it right, if you inspire them in the right way, you can charge for it. And the thing is about charging for it is they tend to take it much more seriously. What's free has no value. So, and this applies to both of you and for me. You know, I'm driving the bus at the moment, and I'm a bit tired of driving. I want to move to the next job. I'm not quitting the business. I want to be as big a part of it as ever, but I want to direct my efforts into what I feel I'm best at and what will benefit the business as a whole. So I might become the inspector on the bus, you know, the checking the tickets, that you know, the analogy, how the analogy works. So this is what's important. So I would put effort now into servicing your student body, finding out if they quit, why they quit, when they quit, and you've got things like your awesome call is part of that, your missing in action call is part of that, your student graduation sheet is part of that. If you've got people that don't come to seminars, then you've got to look at things like this. Why would they not come to a seminar? Now, one instructor said to me recently, they don't want to do seminars. I think, no, they don't want to do the seminars that you're selling. No offence, but what they don't want to do is they don't want to do the seminar that you've sold because you don't really believe in it, or you don't feel it works, or in some way, so you don't sell it in the right way. Now, I think everybody will go to a seminar if it's sold in the right way, and I know with Leeds North and West and East, they've been doing these mega seminars and getting some really impressive turnouts, 40 people plus, and people want to do it because it's expected, and we create the scene for it, and the kind of seminar you do, and specialise in it, and trying not to be too. I would never do a seminar of anything that I don't include in my academic curriculum. Now, I think one of us did a seminar recently that wasn't within the curriculum, and I've done it. I've done that myself a number of times. But what happens is you do a seminar on, I don't know, it could be Tai Chi or a screamer or something like this, which is stick fighting. But what your students then want to do is stick fighting, because you just introduce them to it, and you can't talk them out of it. Some people get these ideas fixed in their head. But if you do it on what we already do at a deeper level, then they've got a reason, because it's going to make them a better black belt, and so on. But if you find people that don't want to do seminars, then there is an issue there. Is it because of the way you've sold it, or is it because they're starting to fade? Because you probably all know that there's people turn up, the body turns up to your classes, but the mind's not there anymore. The heart's not in it anymore. Now, our goal, in order for people to benefit from what we do, we have to keep them longer. And we know that everybody quits, like I gave you with the bus analogy, but we need to keep them longer. So what do? Now, we can't create a relationship with them too closely, but there are certain things you can do. One is to look after them and be consistent in your delivery and your teaching, and for you to study teaching. And think about what teaching is. Teaching, like selling, is communication. Martial arts is communication. It's a basic level of communication where two people sort out an issue using the fists and the feet. Now, we don't want to get to that point, and we try as far as possible to be better communicators so that we can not get to that area. We can use diplomacy rather than knuckles. Now, the other side of it is, when it comes to that study process, is that are we studying the communication that goes on in our teaching? What effect are we having? What techniques have we got? I don't put tots or children under about 8 on the pads. I don't let them hold the pads themselves. Not unless I'm trying to build the confidence. But generally, it looks a real mess. And you want people who hold pads to hold good pads. So that's why we use the training in the chain, and where you might bring parents on. But I don't bring too many parents on, because there's a balance, because then the parents start to coach the kids, and you don't want the kids being coached by a parent, no matter how good the parent is. We don't want to create the ethos where parents think it's okay to coach kids. They're not qualified instructors. Their job is hold the pad and have the pad hit, and then the student bows to it and says thank you and goes to the back of the line. That's the extent of it. So you can see subtleties of when you bring a student or a parent onto the mat to hold a pad. Great, do it, but be careful how much power you give them. So what we're talking about? We're talking about 1, building the team, and 2, slowing down the attrition of people leaving your academy. So have you come across any particular lessons that you might have had so far with people leaving, or how many people you've got leaving? Do you know your numbers so far?
I don't know the numbers so far, no.
No. So it's one of those things that we can work on.
I had one surprisingly left this week, which was a shock. But again, I think the heat, she's tired, and the term, she's missed a few weeks. Just generally, I think her consistency in coming to class meant that she quit. And probably I should have been doing the MIA calls and getting her back on the map.
Yeah.
And I would say my habit is doing those MIA calls, sending out, picking the phone up, speaking to the parents. And I think there is the fear that you get in touch and that they will quit while they're on the phone.
Yeah, they will, sometimes. But sometimes they won't. And if they're quitting anyway, they're quitting. We've just got to be tough. You see, what if you think about, again, in order to inspire people, we have to do things that other people fear doing. We have to be tougher. We have to face the issues. You know, like you get the brown envelope and you know it's a bill, you know it's a final demand. And a leader will open it and deal with it. A follower, you know, a person who's not a leader will probably leave it and not open it because they know what's in it. But that's an avoidance strategy. So if you think about what just happened there, the leader dealt with it. They attacked the problem. The other person avoided it. And we know with avoidance, you can only avoid for so long. You will get hit eventually if you just keep using that strategy. So the MIA calls are important, keeping track of things, and also working out your attrition. And there's a simple way that you can work out your attrition, and that's from your monthly analysis sheets. So all you need to look at is what is your active count at the moment, and you need to be consistent on that. What's your active count, and what was it last month, and what was it the month before? What was it at the beginning of the year, and what is it now? Now, if it's grown, then your attrition is in a positive. Now, if it's less, then your attrition is in a negative. If it's more than about 8 or 10%, then you could have an issue going on. Not massive, but you could have an issue. Generally,
The active account, sir?
Say again?
What do you actually class as the active account?
The active count. The active count is any student who's trained within the last 30 days who's also paying or has paid.
No.
So when you work out, when you're working out your numbers, you think, okay, well that's this guy. He's paying, but he's not being. So he's not active. He's been, but he's not paying. No, he's not active either. We need to sort him out. But if he's been within the last 30 days and he's paying or has paid, he's active. Now you can tighten these figures up if you want, more than a month. But that's the general rule, and that's the rule that we try and all work to, because if we work to that, then we've got consistency of the rule. But what you find is if you started off the year with, say, 100 people, and you've now got 80, well, you've lost 20% of your membership. Now that can happen in two ways. People are naturally leaving the academy for many different reasons, and we know the 5 reasons, the 5 basic reasons, which are long holiday, long illness. I'm talking 2 weeks-ish. 2-week holiday, they're at risk of leaving. 2-week sickness, they're at risk of leaving. Change of job, whether it's promotion, up, down, sideways, but a change of job will throw them off kilter for a couple of weeks. They're in danger of leaving. Change of relationship, they're in danger of leaving. Change of home, they're in danger of leaving. So there's 5 reasons there why, and I used to pre-frame people during the tour that I would give them a call if they didn't turn up, and that's what I did. I'd give them a call, and I'd give them a call. I wouldn't send them a card. If I can't get them, I might send them a card. But what I always felt like I'd not really made contact with a card or a text or an email. I'd only made contact if I saw them or spoke to them. So if you set that as a standard, then you know that you set that standard for your CITs as well, that they need to speak to people. And that's part of your awesome call. Your awesome call is a proactive MIA call. I don't know if you realise that, but it's a proactive MIA call. It's to find them before they've gone. Just to find out now, an MIA call and an awesome call done on a regular basis without asking for money often will bring in referrals, and will sometimes bring in, they'll give you offers of money for things that they need to pay for. So it has its secondary benefit, but your goal is to just stop people leaving, because it's much harder to get people in than it is to stop the ones that are in leaving.